Hi and welcome to episode 7 of the Hidden London Hangout. My name's Alex and it's a little bit of a different one this week. We're all in a bit of a rush. Things are going on. The girls can't join us this week, but I do have Chris and I've got 2 new girls because we're talking today about moquette, the fabric that you sit on when you get on a train and you get on a bus. There's loads to go out today and we've got a fantastic competition for you to win some fabulous prizes as well. So let's introduce the team. First of all, Chris Nix from the London Transport Museum. How are you and where are you?
Hi there, Alex. How are you?
Oh.
Hello.
Oh, look at you.
How are you?
Right, there's too much to take in. First of all, we're all in the middle of coronavirus and it looks like Chris has made a mask to protect his health out of tube seat fabric. Is this right?
It is. It's quite effective. So much so that it's quite hard to speak through. But some might see that as a good thing.
I can't believe this. And look at all the bits of fabric in the background and the lights.
We had to have some bunting.
Phenomenal. I love this. Absolutely love it. And of course, in addition to Chris, we've got. You look great. And in addition to Chris, we've got 2 wonderful guests joining us as well. First of all, Emma Sewell from the designers Wallace Sewell, who are responsible for a lot of the fabric that you sit on every time you get on a tube train. Emma, hello.
Hi there. Hi, Alex. How are you?
Look at your amazing studio. I'm loving this. And as a little surprise, by the way, I'm wearing what you designed. So on my right leg, I've got this sock.
Very good.
Okay.
Yep.
This is that's Elizabeth line, and on this foot I've got.
Wow. My 2
so there we go with all the little
ones.
London bits. It's fantastic. So thank you very much to you. I've now got a lovely pair of unmatched socks, which is great. And then, as if that wasn't a fantastic enough guest, we popped to the middle of England to talk to Sarah Mallinson from Camira, which actually manufactures the fabric. How are you, Sarah?
I'm fine, thank you. Nice.
And where are you? Wave at us. I need to see you. Amazing. And little Dicky Bird tells me that you've got a mug in front of you. Is it water or is it wine?
It's water.
I love it. I don't believe you. Right. So today, as I say, we're talking about moquette. Very different cast list, but it's going to be fantastic anyway. And moquette is the stuff which is, it's durable stuff. It's really durable. Look at that off the Victoria line. It's amazing. It's got a nap. It doesn't wear out. But on other parts of the underground system, all around the world and on buses, you sit on plastic. So Chris, why did London Transport spend so much money designing and paying for really posh fabric?
Well, it's probably because the transport system in London is really old. So if you go back to the first buses in London, 1829, the first underground system, 1863, and so it's quite natural to upholster seats. And indeed, the kind of people travelling on those modes of transport then were really quite wealthy, and so they did expect them to be quite finely upholstered. And so you would just find general fabrics being used, ordinary chair fabrics. But it seems that the tradition continues here, where in other countries it has not. And I think it's for a couple of reasons. One, it's incredibly durable material, so it does last a long time. Secondly, it's because it's essentially a type of carpet, it's relatively easy to clean. And thirdly, and this is probably where London Transport comes into the mix, it's capable of carrying some really nice designs. And London Transport really set that tradition, which is carried on by TfL today, of making design an integral part of the experience of travelling on the transport system. And so all of those things came together, and it means that moquette has persisted in use in London in a way that perhaps it hasn't in other cities around the globe.
Amazing stuff. So it's a class thing, it's a durability thing, it's a bit of everything, really. And Sarah, I've got something I want to show you. It's really rather big.
Okay.
I wonder would you just allow me to stand up for a moment?
I would, yes.
If you tell me you've seen bigger, there's trouble. My seat, I normally sit on the floor to do this show. But actually today, as I remove the covers, my seat is made of your moquette.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic.
This is an old, it's an old armchair that I had covered in Moquette many moons ago. And to tell you very quickly the story, I bought it for 100 quid. And then when Camira, the company, was called Holdsworth's, I rang them up and there was a really lovely lady on the end of the phone. Could have actually been you. And I said, look, I've got this weird idea. I just want to cover an armchair in Moquette fabric because I really love Routemaster buses. And she said, well, we can sell you some. So I bought loads of it and then I took it to a guy who worked out of a garage who was an upholsterer. And I said, can you do it? He said, I've never worked with Moquette. I'd love to. But when he brought it back, he said, you know, you were a little bit short with the amount of Moquette that you gave me. He said, so I've had to patch it with some red velour. And it's under the seat, under the cushion, there's a little bit of red velour. And I said, oh, it's a real shame we couldn't get enough of it. He said, well, don't worry, because he said, it's what I had left over from when I did the Queen's Flotilla in 2012 down the Thames. And he'd actually done that as well. So I've got on this lovely armchair, I've got Moquette, and I've also got a bit of the fabric from the Queen's Flotilla from the Jubilee. So I am very, very chuffed with this chair. I love it, and I don't normally sit on it, so I'm loving every second of this. Anyway, Chris, back at the lunch.
If only, Alex, we'd have been selling them in the shop at the time, it would have been a lot easier. Now it's very easy to get.
Isn't it just? But no, I did this the hard way, and it's lovely. Are you impressed with the handiwork, Sarah?
It is fantastic.
I love you. New best friend. Right, okay, Chris. First of all, we need to see some pictures of this stuff. Normally we have City slideshow. I think, since your name is Chris Nix, let's today call this Nix and Pics.
So the first photo then, Alex. This one is just shows you a piece of maquette that people might recognise. It's known as District. Was produced by the DRU under Misha Black, and it's a very well-known maquette because, as well as being on the District line, it was also used, for example, on the Jubilee line and indeed on buses at the time. Here we've got a much older one called Collindale or Leaf by an artist called Marion Dawn. Who was also a poster artist. And these two, I think, really illustrate just how rich the colours of maquette can be in a fabric, and how striking the designs can be, how different they can be as well.
And I like the fact that it's red and green. It's very sort of opposite colours, really. Complementary colours, I suppose.
So many of the maquettes are done in green, the complementary colour being red. And green was chosen as a base colour because it's kind of old for country and perceived as quite restful and peaceful. So yeah, it's a really beautiful maquette. That's one of my favourites. This is a much earlier one. Maquette really started coming into its own and being used in the 20s. And this is one which was used on both the Underground and on buses, and it's known as Lozenge. Nice little kind of teal.
Beautiful.
Bar.
It's lovely.
Yeah. So many people might think that's kind of one of the earliest ones. There is actually one that we know is a bit earlier. This one is from the B-type bus, dated around 1914. And this is one that was skillfully recreated for us for our battle bus project when we restored a B-type battle bus that had been to the First World War, and that was its seat covering. You see, they come in many shapes and sizes. There's a couple of designs in there which these being more contemporary ones, which people will probably recognise if they travel on, whether it's on Underground or on tram or on Overground.
There's a lot of geeking going on in that picture, isn't there?
There is. And this photo might seem slightly odd to put a photo of a bus in a show about maquette, but these are essentially vehicle parts. They are, if you try and find maquette on our online collections, you have to look for them under vehicle parts, because that's essentially what they are. They're just very, very stylish bit of vehicle part. And the idea to look in detail into Moquette really came about on this day when we took this bus on the London to Brighton run about 5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago. I was on the London to Brighton run and thinking, how can we widen the interest of taking these fabulous old buses out into the wild and letting people see them? And I thought, I wonder if we start taking Moquette samples with us and talking about the wider range of design, whether that will attract a wider audience. It did. And from that, we decided to apply for an HLF grant to study Moquette in better detail to enhance the knowledge in our collection.
Now, we need to talk to a designer because these designs are beautiful, and we know the person because she's here who puts them all together. Emma Sewell from Wallace Sewell. First of all, my lovely, how do you go about designing something as amazing as Barman? And if I look at this now, this is my Barman cushion. It is amazing. How did you go and do it?
So the Barman we got involved with because it was a competition. We'd done a couple of projects with TfL before then, and we'd always said, "Go on, can we get a chance to do the underground?" They were like, "Oh, no." But then they put it out as a competition. So we entered, and the Barman came about because the project brief for the competition was design a maquette for London. And so we came up with sort of various ideas. And one of the ones I thought of was, what does London mean to me? And thinking of landmarks. And so I just started to sketch from memory various buildings as I could, and that ended up as the Barman. It started off with sort of various landmarks, and then I tried to sort of compress them into this tiny repeat that's about, I don't know, 10 by 20 centimetres, very much in a sort of Russian constructivist manner. And
Russian constructivist. I wasn't thinking Russian constructivist, but I have to say, I did think gorgeous when I was looking at it. Absolutely, because it's such a small amount of space that you've put all of these landmarks in.
Well, they all overlay each other. Things like the spindle of the London Eye becomes the top of St Paul's, and then one of the spires on Tower Bridge. So it's, you know, multi-functioning there.
And is it difficult to design Moquette in this way? Because, I mean, you design loads of different things. Is Moquette quite difficult to design by comparison?
It's very different to what we normally design. We're normally, even though it's a woven fabric, in a way it's like designing print design because it's about imagery. Normally we're dealing with putting one set of threads crossed with another set of threads and mixing colours that way and making a pattern. But this is all about pixels almost. The tufts are like a pixel. And so it is quite different. You can only get so much detail. So a lot of the ones we've done had been sort of very rectilinear, which is quite simple to sort of, you know, do a line of that set of colours in that pixel. But this, because it was all circles, we tried doing actually making the designs as a smaller scale, but it just got too broken up. And so then we sort of scaled it up a little bit, but it has to fit, as Sarah would know, the repeat of the loom it's woven on. So there's constrictions as to, it has to fit, is it 50 centimetres, Sarah?
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, this is so complicated, isn't it? So this isn't just like sewing that you do at school, is it? This is on a big machine, and we're going to find out about that in a minute. I noticed as well that when you look at these designs, this hasn't just got a blue colourway, has it? As well, I think this design's got a brown colourway for the Bakerloo line, hasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So a few years after we had made the Barman design, they TfL were up sort of reviving, or can't think of the word, zhuzhing up the Bakerloo
tarting
line.
up
The Bakerloo line.
Refurbishing, yes. I believe.
Okay.
So I think you'll say tartan.
Refurbishing the Bakerloo line, and so much to our delight, they asked us to recolour the Barman, because when we'd initially designed it, we sort of said, hey, let us do different colourways for each group of lines, you know, that would be great. And they were like, no, it'll just be one colourway for all the trains we use it on.
You met the grumpy person, did you?
Huh?
You met the grumpy person, did you? One of the questions that I do have for you is, as I'm sure an awful lot of Londoners will be wondering, what are all of the London landmarks that you have in this. We've got the London Eye, we've got
St Paul's, you've got St Paul's, you've got London Eye, you've got the Tower with Big Ben inside, and then you've got Tower Bridge, which is really hard to see because it's actually hidden within the repeat.
There it is.
No, thank you.
See, so we get it. This is good. I love the fact, though, that when you talk about this stuff, yes, Mr. Nix.
Alex, may I make a confession? I may have got so into Moquette that I created a Moquettepedia. So I do have a fair old collection here. And just to illustrate the point that you were making about the...
it's not often I'm dumbstruck, by the way. I actually, this is too much to take in this Hidden London Hangout as to how unbelievable your obsession is compared to mine. I've got a couple of cushions, you've got a whole workshop.
We're now firmly in the confessional, Alex.
Okay,
so here we go. So that is the regular barman, and then this is the charcoal version that we're talking about.
It's beautiful. And do you know what? Just to give you an idea of how this stuff is made, let's take a look at a little video which talks you through how the Bakerloo line moquette is produced.
A metre of the Bakerloo line fabric requires nearly 11 kilometers of yarn in 4 colours. The yarns are dyed at a dyeing facility in Huddersfield. The colours are specially mixed to the exact pattern colours. The undyed yarn cones are unpacked and prepared for dyeing. They are stacked and compressed tightly, which ensures an even dye coverage, and are then placed into the dye vessel for 2 hours. Once dyed, the yarns are transferred into a dryer for around 50 minutes. The now coloured yarns are repackaged, ready to ship to Lithuania for weaving. The weaving process starts with the cones being taken from the store. The yarns are then wound onto bobbins. We need 3,744 bobbins to make the Bakerloo fabric. Creelers order the bobbins in frames on the creel, where the yarns then feed into the loom. On the Metex loom for the Bakerloo fabric, there are 4 frames, 1 colour per frame. The shift leader checks the warps. Sometimes, if the warp is about to run out, new yarns are knotted onto the existing warp, so that the loom can keep weaving. The loom starts weaving the pattern. After a metre or so of weaving, the shift leader checks the piece for quality. If everything is fine, the weaving continues. A final check is carried out on the inspection perch after the fabric is taken off the loom. The fabric is rolled and prepared for loading. The fabric rolls are loaded into a truck to go back to the UK for finishing. The moquette is loaded onto the Spirotto machine for steam finishing. Fabric then passes through a cropping blade, which gives the face a level pile, making it look crisp and clear. Finally, the moquette is prepared for the tenter machine, where it is bathed in a flame retardant solution, before passing through a heat setting to dry it out. Once completed, the moquette is shipped to transport for London for use on our tubes.
Well, I love that video because that kind of sums up exactly what we needed to know in order to see how this stuff rolls off the presses. But we don't have to just rely on a video because we've got an amazing, gorgeous girl called Sarah who actually works for the company that makes that stuff, Camira. So, Sarah, first of all, I've got a bit of a geeky question for you because I think there are 2 different types of moquette. Is that right?
There is 2 types of moquette. We have 2 looms. One is Van de Veer, which is face to face, which actually weaves 2 pieces together, and then it's we use a knife to cut, so you get 2 pieces. It's a mirror image, and then we have the Metex looms, which weaves 1 piece.
So London Underground uses the cut and uncut, doesn't it?
They do, yes.
Brilliant stuff. Well, I love pictures, so let's have another look at one of the slideshows. Nix and Pix, are you ready?
I am, yes, let's go. So first we're going to start with a photo of Emma and Harriet.
I was going to say, I recognise that face.
at play. Emma, anything you want to say about the photo?
So this photo was taken at the mill up in Lancashire, where we weave our normal cloth for our scarves and throws and cushions. And we're sat there on, Sarah will know this, on beams, which are the rollers that go at the front and the back of the loom. And they're so amazing and sculptural, and they just get stacked up. And even though it looks quite dangerous, they were very stable to sit on.
So effectively, those wheelie things that you're sitting on are the tube fabric will roll across those when it comes off the production line. Is that right?
Yeah, at Camira, they get wound on, and the threads that go through the warp, one of the warps, would actually come off one of those beams at the front, I assume, and then the fabric will get wound onto one at the back.
Wow.
It's like sort of 2 rolls of toilet paper. And then,
oh, is that your little shop?
That's our little tiny shop.
Oh, that's lovely. How
just
cute
near
is that?
Angel. So we've got a little tiny shop that's basically what you can see, and then we've got an office behind and a workshop below.
Nice.
Okay, so here we've got the design we've been talking quite a lot about, Barman, and hopefully now you've had it explained that there are some landmarks in there. You can see some of them jumping out at you. But we've now got some of Emma's design processes here. Do you want to just talk to us about these?
Well, these are some of the alternative designs that Harriet and I sort of came up with when we were entering the competition that ended up with the Barman design. So this is actually one of Harriet's designs. She always starts off working on paper with sort of pencil crayons, sort of very old-fashioned colouring in kind of designing, but it's amazing. And then, you know, you can see just on the right there sort of how that design was then worked up in the computer.
It's amazing to think though that tube fabric starts off as a pencil drawing, you know?
Yeah, well, some of them start off as collages. So this shows sort of early sketches on the computer of how I was sort of trying to overlay the various landmarks, and you can see there's an illegal roundel in there. You weren't allowed to put a roundel into a maquette.
Really? Why is that then, I wonder? Why is that, Chris? Why are they not allowed roundels?
Well, I think that there's a general principle that you don't put too many roundels in one place. So on a piece of paper, for example, if you're printing something out, you don't duplicate the roundel in design standards. That may be it. I'm afraid I don't know what TFL's policy on the maquette design is with the roundels, but it may be that.
Well, between you and me, Emma, I quite like it with a roundel, but there we are. I would look. This must be Elizabeth line, right?
Yeah. So this shows sort of how the Elizabeth line evolved, the design. It started actually as the TFL rail design, which you can see sort of sketched up on the paper, which is more sort of dirty green colours with stripes across it. So we designed that initially, and then because sort of a lot of the TFL rail routes are going to be taken over by Crossrail, we evolved that design into the Crossrail design. And so we had to work with purple, which is a real Marmite colour. But we always feel that, you know, any colour can be made to work in a group with other colours. But the thing about the Elizabeth line was because of we had to get a lot of white in there, so that the average LRV, which is light reflectance value, was quite, you know, to a certain standard.
It doesn't look too gloomy. Is that the idea that you put?
It was actually because things like the handrails are grey and a lot of the interiors are grey, and it's so that people with sort of impaired vision can distinguish the maquette against other parts of the interior. So we had to sneak a lot of white in there, which is sort of slightly goes against the grain, because obviously white picks up the dirt. But how we did that was by sort of light, mixing it in little tiny stripes with the other colours.
I get it.
Okay, now Alex, this next bit, I've got a bit of a quiz for you to see how good you are on maquette. looking at the fronts is all very well, but can you tell what it is from the back?
You see, I was looking at this before. I thought that was Route Master.
Oh,
am I wrong?
Oh, it is.
You're astonished how many people get stymied by that one. Well done, it's Route Master.
Was it Route Master?
It was Route Master, yeah.
I'm sitting on Route Master. This is what I'm doing. This is amazing. This is what I've got it. Oh, that's really impressive. So that is the split up of all the different landmarks. So you've got Tower Bridge, you've got the Eye, you've got St Stephen's Tower, and you've got St Paul's Cathedral.
That's it, yeah. So Elizabeth Tower on the left, London Eye obviously top right, St Paul's bottom left, and then the trickiest one of all, Tower Bridge in the pattern repeat on the bottom right.
And that's the Bakerloo equivalent, is it? Oh,
yeah.
So that's the drawing.
That's the drawing for the tram line design, tram link.
Yeah, trams, London's trams. Heavens, look at that.
So that's a design by Harriet. So she worked on that one.
How does it feel to sit on your own design every day?
Oh, so exciting! I still get a little sort of glow when I sit on one of my moquettes.
And
yes.
There you are, Alex. There it is from the front, the right
Happy
way.
me.
That's Route Master, as you would typically know it. Another chance for you then, Alex. What's that one from the back?
Well, that's Barman backwards, isn't it?
It is.
Easy.
And for a bonus point, oh, there it is in tiny form from the front.
Wow.
So there we go. That's your lot.
I've got a question for Sarah, actually. Sarah, on the fabrics that you make, how many bums are allowed to sit on it before it wears out? Do they come with a guarantee?
The fabrics come with a 5-year guarantee, but I'm not sure how many bums can sit on it for a 5-year guarantee.
I'd love a factory to come up with a bum number for how many bottoms are allowed to sit on the fabric without wearing it out. That would be fantastic. Camira, that's a new challenge. Right, we've all got favourite moquettes. There are so many, but I do love them, and I love the feel of them. And in winter, when you light a fire and all of a sudden you can snuggle up to a moquette cushion, it's absolutely fantastic. My favourite, I think, although I have many, is this one. And this one is, in fact, actually, Chris, how would you say this?
We were talking about this earlier in the week. You say Straub, I say straw. Let's call the whole thing off. It is Straub.
Well, you say straw, and I'm telling you there's only room for one little fruit in this hidden London hangout, all right? So this is Straub, and it's, I think Henrietta Straub was the designer of this. And
Straub.
Was it? Yeah. And it's off the Piccadilly, and it was on the Northern Line trains as well. And you see it all over the place, and I just love it. It takes me back to being a kid on the tube. What about you, Emma? What's your favourite?
I think for a while it was the Barman, but I think now it's the Elizabeth line. But then of the heritage ones, it's like the Route Master, but I think it's a slightly different variant that's got a sort of coral pink instead of the yellow in the
one you mean,
areas.
It's
and I
beautiful.
think it was the RT bus or something like that. I don't know. It's very like that, but it's subtly different.
Was it that one?
No, it's a different one again, I think.
This isn't Top Trumps.
Hang on. Was it that one?
No.
In which case, it can only be...
Oh, no.
Yes!
Oh, right.
That's the one.
Goodness for that.
Green line.
Yep.
As I said on that old Angel Tube Station documentary, close at midnight, love, take your time. I love it. What about you, Sarah? You make this stuff all the time. Have you got a favourite? It's
very difficult because we have like 100 custom-made fabrics that we design every year. 80% of the transport business is custom-made fabrics. I love the Misha Black as a vintage fabric, and we still weave that now.
And what does that look like, roughly?
The brown and the black that was shown earlier.
Oh,
yeah.
Our district, yes.
And we
district, as we call it, yeah.
We still do weave that now.
Can you see in the background? There's a cushion. So that's cushion on the sofa there. was almost our homage to the Misha Black design.
Gorgeous.
You know, which is partly, I think, why we ended up doing Moquette.
Well, I mean, to say I've got it bad is probably an understatement, because what I've also done is framed moquettes like this, and one of them is Misha Black. So I've got that one, and I've got that one that hang outside the bathroom. So midnight, I go for a wee, and all of a sudden I can see all my moquettes. It's marvellous. There you go.
Wow.
And what about you? Sorry, darling.
Sorry, one of my other favourites that is one of our stock fabrics is the block.
Oh, that's nice.
Mm.
Oh, it's like Blockbusters.
That's what we call it. It's actually a poster.
Can I see that again?
Series.
That's awesome.
You want to see it again?
Yeah.
Designed by Bob
that
Holders.
is great.
That's really nice. If you feel like you want to send me a little bit for a cushion, I'd be more than happy. I'll go gold to gold in 60 seconds or less. Yeah, I'll do that. Can I have a peek?
Oh, we can definitely send you some of that.
Love this. Awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing. And what about you then, Nick? I mean, you're in a studio, for goodness sake. What have you got there?
Obviously, I'm a fan of Barman. I wouldn't be wearing this. And by the way, top tip: don't use second-hand Moquette to make a face mask. You don't want people's bottoms sitting on it and then using it as a face mask.
Well, it's got a 5-year guarantee, Mr. Nix. You're all right.
Not against that. And my favourite is actually that version of the Barman, the more recent one that's on the Bakerloo line. And in the vintage ones, it's Marion Dawn all the way. It's Collindale Leaf.
It's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been such a treat to have you along for the ride, to think we've got the designer and the person who's in charge of, well, making the factory make the stuff. It's just amazing. What a delight. And next time you're in London, come down and I'll buy you some Prosecco or paraffin or whatever we're drinking tonight. It's going to be marvellous. But thank you very much. Mr. Nix, we've got quite a fabulous competition and quite an amazing giveaway, haven't we?
We do indeed, yes. We have much to give away. So this week, we'll be giving away a copy of the excellent field guide to Moquette, Seats of London, a mini cushion of this size, lovely. But it will be in Barman fabric. So it'll be in that fabric, classic London one. And finally, drum roll please, the box of socks.
Oh, I've got that.
Marvellous.
So you can mix and match your socks like I have today. That's marvellous. Now, there is a very, very simple question. Well, I think it's a simple question. And I think Google will produce it a very, very nice, simple answer. But Chris, what's the question to win all that booty?
We've talked a lot about Moquette. It's a French word. What does it mean in English?
Brilliant.
Go to our website to enter the competition.
Moquette est français. But in English, what does it mean? The details are below, all right? Everything is below. Terms and conditions and everything else is all below. So all you got to do is let us know what that means in English. Moquette is the French word. What does it mean in English? Get entering. You've got 2 weeks to win this, okay? So 2 weeks from now, closing date, and we'll pick a winner, and off comes the cushion and the book and the socks to you. I can't wait to see who wins that. It's such a great prize. Now, we've got, as always, notes, queries and questions. We've got 3. Sam York, 2008, on Instagram says, what happened to the Doric Arch at Euston Station, Chris?
Oh, well, sadly, it was demolished, as we mentioned in the Euston episode, and some of it got put into the River Lee, just as ballast, I know, just tipped into the River Lee. So, yeah, I wouldn't advise going diving in the River Lee, but that's where it is.
I love that. Thank you very much. It's in the river, face down in the river. Question number 2 from Dazzling Daz. Dazzling Daz and I have regular conversations as Hidden London Hangouts are being broadcast. Daz is brilliant. We were talking at Down Street and also at Charing Cross about the G and the S spots that appear in the stations, okay? They're tiles and they have either a G or an S spotted on them. And he asks, did G mean gas attack door?
Yeah, this seems to be a running question between episodes, because we're still not sure. Now, in the chat room, I think it was Des mentioned that there was an article in The Guardian, I think back in 2015, that referred to this and said it was the letter G referred to gas locks. I took a look at the article, and it seems that the Guardian reporter had been there for a trip around the site with the commercial team, and this notion that the G refers to gas is one which I first heard 20 years ago. Speculation rather than facts, though. So knowing that's the route that it's come from, sadly it's not right. There is
a fabulously tall story.
Yeah, it's like the civil service tea trolley story that goes with the width of the corridors. It's fun, but it's not real. And the fact is, there are lots of gas locks in Down Street, and that's the only one that's got a G next to it. And if you go to other stations, you'll find a G, but there were never gas locks. So I'm afraid it's not true.
Okay, question 3 from Ian Johnson. Do the floodgates still exist on the underground stations, and do they work like an embankment? If you're on embankment platform and you look up, there's a lot of mechanical equipment, and yes, it's floodgates. I was funny enough, only today I was looking on Facebook, and one of the London Underground groups has got some great photographs of kit and caboodle from the floodgates. But Chris, there's even more of a nuanced answer to this, isn't there?
Yeah, so the floodgates, if you want to go and see one, then the Northern Line platform at Embankment has one still in place. There aren't many left now because they were fitted before in response to war originally, and once the Thames barrier was fitted, they weren't needed anymore. So the majority of them have been taken out. And there are still some that are operational, but because they're operational, I can't tell you where they are.
I love that. I just knew you were going to do that. I knew you were going to do that. I just knew you were going to do that. Thank you so much for watching. Today has been fantastic. A lovely gallop through the most touchy-feely fabric as you could possibly ever want to get your mitts on. You can win some with that simple question. Moquette is the French word. What does it mean as a direct translation in English? All the details are below. Don't forget to follow us. LT Museum, Alex Grunden and Chris Nix, all on Instagram. The YouTube channel, follow us, subscribe to us and comment, and come back next week, because the girls are back next week. We're going to be going underground, or will we? We could be in an overground underground moment. We won't be wobbling free, but whatever we do, we'll be back with you. So have a great day and stay safe.